Sorry, right in his face. If you weren't awake, you are now. I'll just hold it back a bit. Is it loud? Morning. Reimagining your career site without breaking the bank. Sounds like a catchy title to lure you in, and yes, on some level it obviously is, but this is a real life business case of how we took a career site from being pretty naff to something that we're really proud of, and a real tale of perseverance that possibly Walt Disney himself would be proud of. Probably like many of us, we realised the digital journey didn't reflect what it's really like working at Simplyhealth, and we'll tell you in a bit who we are. So we're going to walk you through the highs, some of the lows, some of the higher highs, the lower lows. I told you it was a bit like Disney. Thankfully, no singing. That's why he's moved. But look, all joking aside, there's nothing groundbreaking we're going to tell you today, I'll be honest. So if you're expecting some technological breakthrough or a bit of software that's going to blow your minds, it's not it. So go get yourselves a coffee now. We don't mind. This is your time. I know what it's like when you're waiting to leave a presentation you don't want to be at. This is how to make a career site on a budget. So I don't think there's anything here that anyone in this room couldn't do, but hopefully you'll pick up a few pointers if, like us, you've got low budgets and you're in a company that's changing all the time. So first, a couple of intros. My name's James. I head up talent acquisition at Simplyhealth. I've been here for 5 years. Full transparency, this wasn't my first career site, so I had been here before. So I did come in with a bit of a background in terms of how you could do it yourself or how you do it with a bigger budget. But as with any project, different challenges, different things we had to overcome on the way. So hopefully I can help you with that. So if you haven't done your own career site before, this shouldn't put you off.
Thank you. Hi, and I'm Katie Coombs, so I'm Talent Acquisition Manager, and I work very closely alongside James, so I manage the TA operation. And I joined Simplyhealth just over a year ago now, so I joined mid-flight, halfway through this project, and I brought with me some of my thoughts from what I'd seen in the past, what had worked, what hadn't worked from other organisations, and that really helped to keep the candidate really at the heart of our decision making.
So, the session today, we're going to look at who we are, a little bit about us as I mentioned, why we went on this journey, why do we put ourselves through it, what the journey was, some of the challenges, a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the new sites, which we're very proud of, as I said, some of our measures of success, and as I said, hopefully some takeaways to recap on for you all. Look, some of you might have done some sites in the past. You might be in the middle of one right now, you might be planning one, and as I said already, there's nothing here that you won't be aware of or anything I think is particularly groundbreaking. We want to be really honest with you about that today, but we do think it's a great reminder of how to get something out there that is good enough. It should be about the candidate journey, and what you've got today might be, frankly, just not good enough. So just getting something out there that's a bit better is okay.
So, can you hear me okay? Am I close enough? Great. So I thought I would share a bit of background really on Simplyhealth and our story. So we are a purpose-led, award-winning health solution provider. We have a strong heritage in healthcare for over 150 years, and we provide award-winning health plans as well as dental plans through our consumer brand, Denplan. We have a head office in Andover, where the majority of our 900 or so colleagues are based when they're not working remotely. And we have around 2.5 million customers and a turnover of £213 million a year, there or thereabouts. And we're really proud of our strong purpose, which is to improve access to healthcare for all in the UK. So we've always had this great story to tell. We're a trusted brand, we have a strong heritage, we're the UK's first B Corp health insurer, we're purpose-driven, We don't have any shareholders, we have lots of stakeholders. And we're investing in new health tech startups to really give them the boost they need to get up off the ground. But we haven't always told that story digitally, and we'll share more on that later. So looking back to the summer of last year, and James had a brand new team in myself, Laurie and Rachel, who all joined Simplyhealth within a few weeks of each other. And as a team, just to give you an idea of the numbers that we look after, so we manage hiring at all levels up to C-suite. And last year we extended 315 offers, and 90 of those were direct hires, so something we're really proud of. Last year, during the peaks, we managed around 1,000 applications a month with up to 80 vacancies live at any one time. So for us, there's a big focus on volume recruitment across customer service in particular, but also more specialist recruitment across sales, IT and digital, marketing, product, and our support functions. And as you can see, the majority of our candidates were sourced via social media, so predominantly LinkedIn, but also on Indeed. And we're really pushing at the moment for those additional referrals, having recently launched or relaunched our Refer a Friend scheme. And as a company, we're transforming, so we're moving from a traditionally analog business to a digital first one. So really embracing new tech and AI, and all at the same time, we're also embedding a new product-led business model, as if the previous wasn't enough. And it's a really ambitious change for us. So it's all happening at pace, it's all happening at once, and as you can imagine, it's also meant or led to a big shift culturally. And that's also led to some really exciting opportunities for us as a team, but also a few challenges. So as a result of the journey we're on last year, we hired a lot of new roles. Lots of new roles were created, often landing at once. Many of them needed to be hired yesterday. So the pressure was on, and of course it was a really candidate short market last year as well. So we knew that embedding our employer brand was key. So we are really well known in Andover and have been for many years, but there was a really low brand awareness further afield, so we knew that we needed to address that. We also saw quite a few offers declined last year, so more than double that we'd seen the previous year, and certainly a lot higher than this year. So we knew that we needed to engage our candidates earlier so they could really make the connection with our purpose, our values, and our offer. And we wanted to tell the story and shine a light on our culture and our EVP, and really bring to life what's special about working for Simplyhealth, both on social channels, but also, of course, on the careers site.
So, taking you back, August 2018 is when I first joined the company, and one of the first things I did, like many of you I'm sure, is looked at the careers site and saw thumbs up lady, as she affectionately came to be known. Not too offensive, very basic sites, I think it's fair to say. Search function down the bottom, so links to the front, middle and back office vacancies. The top menu just repointed you to the main company website, so it was that about us, pings you somewhere else. So, you know, it's functional, but not great. No stories about who we are, nothing about our culture, nothing about the team. The branding was out of date as well, marketing loved that, so we had to do something. So change was needed, and keeping in mind the careers site launched this year in February, it was actually April 2019 when I first asked, can I change the careers site? It got shelved at that point, and this might sound familiar to some of you. So the values it felt wasn't embedded yet. It wasn't a priority. I didn't agree, probably like you guys, but I knew we'd need to look at it eventually. So, you know, I'll be honest, there was plenty of other things to keep me busy at the time. So, you know, I did those things for a while. Fast forward, November 2020. I dared to dream again. I actually got some budget this time, 50,000, and I was like, right, I can do this. We agreed we work with a couple of external agencies. So we did a bit of a beauty parade, couple of great agencies. So if any of you have a budget and you're interested, Blackbridge Communications were excellent. PH Creative, really, really good. I would have gone with either. We actually had tentative sign-off to go with Blackbridge. That got shelved again. I was told budgets were being squeezed. They were launching new values. It wasn't the right time. Like all good recruiters, though, I bided my time, knowing the time would be right at some point. So, fast forwarding again, January 2022 now. So after COVID, we're not going to talk about COVID today. And we, probably like many of you, we were establishing our approach to home working. We'd gone from being this really strong local brand in Hampshire to hiring UK-wide. So suddenly our competitors were much wider. You know, how we were going to position ourselves as an employer of choice is really key. And all the stuff you'd expect, you know, I was talking about how do we build on the culture, how do we get a really good candidate experience, and you should know what's coming from me next. A big sell to our executive committee about, right, this is why we need to do this. So January to July that year, I started capturing what would our EVP look like, what could it be. This is the actual slide I used at the time when I went to Exco and talked to them about these are the challenges in the market, this is the seismic shift we need to make in our employer brand to keep attracting the best talent that's out there. We were lucky, we'd done a lot of great work during COVID, really looked after our employees, and I knew that we had this great sentiment to build upon. So for me, the timing was perfect. I knew it was right, but not everyone agreed. So again, it was taking people on that journey of why now was the time right to do it. And as Katie said, you know, we had this great story to tell, but unless you actually spoke to the team on the phone, you'd never know about it. So Exco were very supportive, actually. As a concept, they said, the story's starting to sound quite familiar again, actually. So they were introducing new leadership behaviours. Oh, James, is it the right time? Marketing were doing a big brand piece. Was it the right time? So I'm hearing the same stuff. And look, I could have given up, but as I said earlier, I knew the timing was right. So I thought, no, I'm going to be a bit bolshy here and push a bit harder for this. So I knew we could do it ourselves. I knew that budgets were the issue. So what I said is I basically went to my CPO, our Chief People Officer, who's my boss, and said, look, what if we do it ourselves? Give me 10K as a budget. We can pull all the different bits together. No agency. We might do a bit of the dev work with someone. We've got an in-house studio, so they could do a bit of the imagery for us. So we were lucky, I guess, in that sense. I said we wouldn't even call it an EVP. We would just do a bit of research, go around, talk to some people, find out some stuff. You know, HR, just put it under the banner of HR. Let everyone panic about that. And, you know, how would we attract and retain our staff, aka EVP? But no one knew. And I also said, look, if we give the career site a little overhaul, who's going to know, right? And on that basis, I was actually given the nod, which was great news.
So, ePloy, if you don't know them, ePloy have been our ATS since 2018, and we'd never used them before. But James at the time was immediately impressed by their functionality for the team, the flexibility to bespoke it for our needs, and it's really developed into a really, really strong partnership, which has been another key piece to our success. A few things I would say about ePloy, and some great things that they've been really responsive to any issues. They've helped us develop improvements day to day. So we were really confident that they'd help us manage the project well on their side, and we knew that there were some great examples of other career sites that they'd worked on which looked great. So from a candidate journey perspective, we realised that we were really great once we'd attracted people, but our awareness was low, especially post-COVID, which we felt the site could really help us with.
So we created our own sort of basic wireframe. This is the actual work we did, so feel free to take a picture if that's useful at all. It was actually really useful because with ePloy, we knew we had 5 functional pages, which are the headers in pink or salmon, whatever your color flavor is, at the top. We knew that one of them would be allocated to vacancies, so we knew we had 4 left. That really helped us in terms of how do we pull all the content together. And then once we grouped all of the content down the bottom, we then came up with the headers at the top. We organised those into the sections that you can see there. So teams, life at, recruitment journey, and young careers. So we had a set number of menus. That allowed us to be really prescriptive with the content as well. So as you can see, we started to map out, well, how many images do we need? We need 5 hero images at the top. We've got 5 team areas, so in each of the team areas we want 3 images for each team, so we could do a real tot-up to whoever's going to do your photography for you to say, look, we need 32 images and we want some to look like this and some to look like that. That was really handy actually. And then we knew how big the copywriting task was, because the sudden dawned on us how much writing we were going to have to do. And I'll come to that again in a bit. ePloy worked brilliant, as Katie says, and they're here, so we're going to say that. No, I'm joking, Rachel. But we had a great project manager, Daisy, and she really kept the pace on their side, and it put a bit of pressure on us to match their pace. They were kind of taking us through, right, this is the scoping phase, this is discovery phase, this is launch phase, and pushing us to match their pace. And that really helped actually in terms of, right, we've got to be super organised on our side to make this work. So, timeline. We planned a timeline of activity. Again, this is the actual timeline we did at the time, which was ambitious but achievable. As I said, we had to project manage this on our sides. We had a studio, as I say, so we had to coordinate with the studio. If you've worked with creatives, they're not terribly organised, so there was definitely a bit of wrangling and encouraging that we had to do with those guys. It took, so in total, just under 5 months, to give you an idea of the time. And that was from the kick-off meeting in September 22 to the launch in February 23. I'm going to talk a bit about the work later, but the team at this point, we did a little dry run. They really wanted me to reiterate how hard it was to do this alongside the day job. So, we probably had 70 vacancies running at this time as well. I actively recruit. We all do in the team. We're a team of 4, as Katie said. So don't underestimate taking it on alongside the day job. It was hard work and a lot of work to balance with the day job. The one I wanted to pull out is the focus groups in the first bit in September. That was really useful, getting different teams together and just talking to them about, classic EVP questions. Why are you here? How long have you been here? Why do you stay? What do you love about the benefits? All that good stuff that we could use. And as you can see, we grouped it by the functional areas. So we got the salespeople together and said, what do you love? Got service together, what do you love? That really helped with the content and the copy. As we worked along the timeline, we started to figure out what some of the challenges were. And there were a few, as you could expect with a project like this. So, stakeholders. Stakeholder buy-in wasn't hard per se, but I think the timing of having the right conversation was key. Trying to find the time when the exco would care, frankly, about this was kind of critical because there's obviously other stuff on the pad. So we knew that getting the balance between consulting and informing was actually really important. We've seen a lot of projects die because budget gets reallocated because you spend too much time, well-intentioned, have you told this person, have you told that person, have you told that person, and before you know it, you've spoken to 20 people and you're still a month on and you haven't moved any further forward. So we were really bolshy about, we're just going to do this and we're going to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And a great example of this actually, so when we were in the final phase of the project and we're about to launch it, is we went and presented it to the Exco, and we literally started the presentation with, we're going to show you the new careers site, love your feedback, but we can't do anything with it because we're already past that stage. So tell us what you want, but we're going to park that for a later phase, which we'll come on to as well. So a bit bolshy, but they actually really liked the fact that we were so honest with them. as with any launch, I think there comes a point of no return. We're in a fast-changing business. We knew that it wouldn't be perfect on day one. We just knew that, and we got comfortable with that thought that actually, whenever the site went live, it wasn't going to be the perfect site. As an example, we would have loved to have pictures of our own people on the site. We had to use stock photography because we just didn't have the time to pull together the different people to match the project timelines. So, just stock photography, it probably makes everyone go, ugh. But, we made it work. We grabbed some photos of a summer festival we'd had at work and we mixed them in. So we had a bit of mixture of real people, but it was probably 90% stock. Copywriting. Rachel in my team is here as well. You can see her going, we did so much copywriting. I cannot underestimate. It was a daily job, writing and writing and writing. I don't mind writing, but you do run out of steam in the end, I'll tell you. So don't underestimate that, the amount of writing you will have to do, describing the teams, describing the pages. It's a lot. And especially if you've got a particular tone of voice that you're trying to write to. We had an employer brand workbook from marketing that really helped with the tone of voice. We had a simple rule: if you say it out loud and it sounds corporate, then it probably is, and we didn't want it to sound corporate, so we really challenged ourselves on the type of language we used and how we wrote. We really played with the tone. We tried to be quite cheeky, which we felt represented us and the culture. Obviously, some of my inevitable dad jokes didn't quite make it in, stepped too far, some of them, so the team held me back a few times. But we did change the tone dramatically. And the lasting budget, I said earlier, we asked for 10,000 and we came in just under, which I'm really proud of. So it was 9,000 including VAT that we came in at, and we had a small addition to the cost towards the end of the project, something that we didn't put in the initial scope, which is an extra 500 quid. So we came in at 9.5, which I think is a great achievement. So if you've got less than 10k, you can do it.
And there were many dad jokes, to be fair, so we had to rein them in. But also alongside the go live, we didn't stop there. We had more copywriting to do. So we updated our LinkedIn pages to reflect our employer brand and designed all of our candidate communications with our friendly, informal tone of voice. So there's no more yours sincerely, the recruitment team. We've moved away from that. And our comms are now a lot more engaging and a lot more personal. So I thought I would take you through a quick tour of the new site. So as you can see, homepage. James has worked his magic on the copy, so it reflects our culture, but at the same time it's authentic. We've got some great colleague testimonials and endorsements. We'd like to have more. We actually stole these from our colleague engagement survey because we were in a bit of a rush, but just shows you can repurpose stuff. So if we take a quick look at our teams page and we dive into digital and technology, we can find out here a bit more about each individual team and the vacancies that they have within those teams. And then at the bottom there, once we get there, you can select the vacancies. At the moment we only have 2, but hey, we'll get busier. And it takes you through to the obvious things you can apply. Quite a nice feature is that you can download the job spec, which we really like. And then you can go on to find out a bit more about life at Simplyhealth. So really our purpose, our vision, our culture, all of those things that we wanted to shine a light on. We talk about well-being. Clearly that's really important to us as a health business, and our approach to smart working, which is really, really flexible. So lots of people love it. And then we go on to talk about the recruitment journey, or in this case, specifically the selection process. So from a candidate perspective, what is there? Setting the expectation, easing nerves, thinking a bit about inclusivity, and why we do what we do along the way. So our candidates love it. Can you click for me? Thank you. That's all right. And following the launch, all Thank you. Following the launch, all of the positive signs were there. So we saw record numbers of applications. I mean, there was a lot, and it was a bit of a shocker for us as a team because we'd gone from 1,000 apps a month to over 2,000. It was a busy time. But hey, it was doing what we expected it to do. And also, we had some really great anecdotal feedback. So we've talked a bit about Exco. They were totally on board. And we had some really positive comments from our colleagues across the business. And of course, our candidates who seem to be really engaged. And also this year, we've only had a handful of offers declined. So, we're making big strides there too. Plus, we were finalists for a couple of awards, both for Best Careers Site. We haven't won yet, but that's still to come, I'm sure. And like all